Have you ever done something so normal, so automatic, that you never even stop to ask why? Why do you yawn when someone else yawns? Why do you suddenly forget why you walked into a room? Why do random songs get trapped in your head for hours? And why does your body sometimes act like it has its own weird little agenda? The truth is, a lot of the things we do every day aren't random at all. They're tiny built-in behaviors, shaped by your brain, your body, your memory, your instincts, and sometimes even evolution. Some of them help keep you alert, some help regulate stress, and some are still mysterious enough that science is still trying to fully explain them. So here are 20 things you do every day without really knowing why. 20. You yawn. You probably think yawning means one thing, you're tired, and yes, that's part of it. But yawning is a lot more interesting than that. Scientists know yawning is strongly linked to changes in alertness and arousal, especially when you're sleepy, bored, or transitioning between waking and sleeping. It's also not just because your body needs more oxygen. That old explanation doesn't hold up well in research. Some evidence suggests yawning may help with state changes, attention, and maybe even brain temperature regulation, though the exact reason is still debated. And then there's the weirdest part. Yawning is contagious. You can catch it by seeing one, hearing one, or literally just thinking about one. Which, if you yawn during this, congratulations, your brain has been exposed. 19. You stretch when you wake up. That giant morning stretch where your arms shoot up and your back cracks like an old staircase. That actually has a name. It's often called pandiculation, a stretching behavior commonly linked to waking up and yawning. Researchers think it helps reset muscle tension, increase movement after being still, and prepare the body for action after sleep or inactivity. It's seen across many animals too, which suggests it's deeply built in rather than just a personal habit. So your body isn't just being dramatic at 7 a.m., it's basically running its startup sequence. 18. You walk into a room and forget why. This one feels personal. You walk into the kitchen with purpose. And the second you get there, your brain just goes, absolutely not. This is actually linked to something psychologists call the doorway effect. The idea is that your brain tends to organize information into little event chapters. Crossing into a new space can sometimes act like a mental boundary, making the original thought less accessible for a moment. You didn't become dumb in the hallway. Your brain just filed the task in the wrong tab and now it's pretending it can't find it, which is honestly very relatable behavior. 17. You get déjà vu. That creepy feeling that something is happening again, even though you know it isn't. That's déjà vu, and it's one of the strangest, totally normal experiences humans have. Researchers think déjà vu may happen when your brain accidentally gives a new situation the familiar tag before you've actually processed it properly. In other words, your memory system and your awareness system may be slightly out of sync for a second. So your brain basically whispers, "We've been here before." And your conscious mind goes, "No, we absolutely have not." It's not usually a sign of anything sinister. It's more like your memory software briefly glitching in a very unsettling way. 16. You crave certain foods for no obvious reason. Sometimes you're hungry, and sometimes your body decides it would fight a war for fries, chocolate, or salty chips. Cravings can happen for a bunch of reasons. Sometimes it's about energy, sometimes habit, sometimes stress, sometimes sleep. And sometimes your brain has just learned to strongly associate a food with comfort or reward. That's why cravings often show up when you're tired, emotional, bored, or just used to eating a certain thing at a certain time. So no, your body is not always sending a magical nutritional message like, "You need exactly 6 cookies to survive." Sometimes your brain just remembers that cookies exist and takes that information way too seriously. 15. You get songs stuck in your head. You hear one line of a song, and suddenly your brain loops it for the next 9 business days. That's called an earworm. And it happens because your brain is really good at grabbing onto things that are repetitive, catchy, incomplete, or emotionally familiar. Short musical phrases are especially sticky because your brain likes patterns. And when it doesn't feel like the pattern is finished, it may keep replaying it. So when your mind keeps blasting the chorus of one random song at full volume, that's not chaos. That's your brain acting like a broken Spotify algorithm. 14. You get goosebumps. Goosebumps are one of those body reactions that feel oddly dramatic for modern life. You hear a powerful song. You get cold. You watch an emotional movie scene. Suddenly your arms look like a frightened chicken. Goosebumps happen when tiny muscles attached to your hair follicles contract. In humans, that response doesn't do much anymore, but it likely comes from older survival functions, like helping animals puff up their fur for insulation or to look bigger when threatened. So your body is still running software from a much hairier era, which is honestly kind of iconic. 13. You sneeze in bright sunlight. Some people walk outside into bright sunlight and instantly sneeze like the sun personally offended them. This is a real thing. It's often called the photic sneeze reflex, and it's thought to happen because the nerves involved in reacting to bright light may cross-wire a little, with the nerves involved in sneezing. So for some people, intense light basically confuses the system. Your brain sees the sun and your nose somehow goes, understood. Emergency launch. Human wiring is incredible and also very questionable. 12. You get hiccups. Hiccups are one of the most useless seeming body functions ever invented. They happen when your diaphragm suddenly spasms, causing a quick intake of air, and then your vocal cords snap shut, making that classic hic sound. Common triggers include eating too fast, swallowing air, carbonated drinks, sudden excitement, or stomach irritation. In small doses, hiccups are harmless, but they also feel like your body has accidentally pressed the wrong button and now nobody knows how to turn it off. 11. You laugh when you're nervous. Ever laugh during an awkward, stressful, or wildly inappropriate moment? Yeah, that's actually pretty human. Laughing isn't always about humor. Sometimes it's a way your brain handles tension, uncertainty, embarrassment, or social discomfort. It can act like a pressure release valve, a weird little emotional shortcut your body uses when it doesn't quite know what to do with the moment. So if you've ever laughed when things got uncomfortable, that doesn't necessarily mean you thought it was funny. 10. You procrastinate even when you want to get things done. People often treat procrastination like it's laziness, but a lot of the time, it's actually more about emotion than effort. You don't always avoid tasks because they're hard. Sometimes you avoid them because they're boring, overwhelming, stressful, confusing, or mentally uncomfortable. So instead of doing the thing you need to do, your brain suddenly becomes deeply committed to things like reorganizing a drawer, watching cleaning videos, or researching a hobby you'll never start. Procrastination often isn't a time management problem. It's an avoidance problem wearing a productivity costume, and honestly, that's a little rude. 9. You feel hangry. You know that weird moment where you're not just hungry. You're suddenly annoyed at the entire human race. That's not just you being dramatic. When you haven't eaten in a while, your blood sugar can drop, and your body may respond with changes that affect mood, patience, and self-control. Hunger can make you feel more irritable, more reactive, and less emotionally generous. So hangry is basically what happens when your body says, fuel first, personality later. 8. You crack your knuckles. Some people do this constantly. Some people hate hearing it. And everyone has an opinion about whether it causes arthritis. The cracking sound mostly comes from changes in pressure inside the joint, which can cause gas bubbles in the joint fluid to rapidly form or shift. And despite the decades of fear, occasional knuckle cracking has not been clearly shown to cause arthritis in healthy joints. So if someone dramatically tells you your fingers are doomed forever because you cracked them once, Science is not fully backing their courtroom performance. 7. You need to pee when you hear running water. This one feels fake until it happens to you. You're totally fine. Then you hear a faucet, a shower, or a toilet flush, and suddenly your bladder starts acting extremely interested. That's likely because your brain is heavily driven by association. If your body repeatedly links the sound of running water with peeing, that cue can start triggering the urge all by itself. So no, the sink is not attacking you. Your brain just built a very unnecessary shortcut. 6. You zone out while driving or walking. Have you ever arrived somewhere and realized you barely remember the trip? That can happen because your brain is very good at putting familiar tasks on a kind of autopilot. When you've repeated something enough, like walking a route, brushing your teeth, or driving the same road, your conscious attention can drift while lower-level systems keep the routine going. This doesn't mean you were asleep. It means your brain was using efficiency mode, which is useful. Right up until you miss your turn because you were mentally replaying an argument from 2018. 5. You blush. Blushing is one of the weirdest social body reactions because it feels like your face is snitching on you. Embarrassed, nervous, caught off guard. Boom, your cheeks have issued a public statement. Blushing happens when blood vessels in your face widen, often as part of an emotional stress response. It's especially tied to self-awareness and social attention, which is why it often kicks in when you suddenly feel seen, judged, or exposed. It's basically your body's way of saying, this moment has been emotionally noted against your will. For you sigh for no reason. That random deep breath you take sometimes. That dramatic exhale that makes it seem like you've just lost a Victorian inheritance. That's not pointless. Sighing helps your lungs. Humans naturally sigh from time to time because those deeper breaths can help re-expand tiny air sacs in the lungs that don't always stay fully open during normal breathing. It also shows up during emotional regulation, stress, and mental resets. So a sigh isn't always sadness. Sometimes your body is just doing routine maintenance with extra flair. 3. Your eye starts twitching. Nothing says I'm thriving like your eyelids suddenly vibrating for no reason. Eye twitching is usually harmless and often linked to things like stress, fatigue, caffeine, or eye strain. So when your eyelid starts doing Morse code at 11:47 p.m., there's a decent chance your body is basically filing a complaint. It's not usually serious. It's often just your nervous system being a little overcooked. 2. You check your phone for no reason. This one might be the most modern reflex on the list. You just checked it, and then somehow checked it again 43 seconds later. That's because habits are built around cues and rewards. Your brain learns that checking your phone might give you something interesting. A message, a notification, a dopamine hit, a distraction, a tiny escape from boredom. And because the reward is unpredictable, it becomes even stickier, which is why sometimes you unlock your phone with a purpose, and then forget what that purpose was because an app immediately kidnapped your attention. A truly efficient little rectangle. When you dream about random, nonsensical stuff. And finally, why are dreams so weird? Why does your brain wait until 3 a.m. to create a movie where you're third grade? Teacher is driving a dolphin through a shopping mall. Researchers still don't fully agree on exactly why we dream. But dreams seem to be closely tied to memory, emotion, learning, and brain processing during sleep. In other words, your brain may be sorting, combining, replaying, and remixing bits of your experiences while you sleep. So dreams aren't necessarily secret messages from the universe. Sometimes your brain is just cleaning out its desk drawer, and somehow a talking raccoon ends up in the file system. So the next time you yawn, stretch, forget why you walked into a room, or suddenly crave fries like it's your life's mission. Just remember, your body is doing a lot more behind the scenes than you realize. Some of these behaviors are ancient survival leftovers. Some are brain shortcuts. Some are social reflexes, and some are still weird enough that even science is still figuring them out. which honestly makes everyday life a lot more interesting. Thanks for watching.